All right. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm excited to share my insights into the world of non-dilutive funding and its impact on the ecosystem of research and development. Today, we're going to dive into why non-dilutive funding is a game changer for research and development startups, as well as researchers, developers, and biotech companies alike. We're going to explore my journey in bootstrapping my company and also offer practical tips on securing such funding. We'll wrap up with a Q&A session, so I'm really excited to get going. A little bit about me. So I founded Continuous Solutions with a passion in renewable energy and efficient power systems. My focus has always been on creating high efficiency motors and drives, particularly projects such as underwater unmanned vehicles and propulsion systems, motor controls for traction vehicles, and power dense rotating machines for naval ships. I'll get into that a little later. I learned the hard way through the trenches of bushwhacking my way through new businesses so that you don't have to. I learned how to keep my vested interest in the company as well as the nuances between federal funding. And so without further ado, I would like to tell you what I've learned and what has brought me success along the way. In this talk, we're going to talk about the significance of non-dilutive funding in starting a company, specifically as it relates to deep tech and biotech topics, my personal journey in bootstrapping, the key lessons I've learned along the way, practical tips in identifying and securing funding, and then the Q&A session is at the end. So let's begin with the basics. What exactly is non-dilutive funding? In the simplest terms, it's a way to secure capital for your business without giving up any equity or ownership. This means that you retain full control over your company. Non-dilutive funding can come in various forms, such as government grants, loans from financial institutions, or crowdfunding, or various other forms. Now, why it's so important to not give up your equity so quickly? Well, a lot of the times when we think about starting a company, the first thing that comes to mind is I don't have any funding, right? And you don't really need to have funding in order to start a company. You need to have passion, energy, as well as ideas to start cultivating. Now, when you start cultivating these ideas, they are just that. They are seeds to your business. But typically, when we give up equity early on, what happens is that the bottom line becomes the driving force. So how are we going to make money as soon as possible? With deep tech as well as biotech, this can often derail where the technology is headed. And so in order to retain control of the company and also seed your ideas and let them grow into what they will, non-dilutive funding is really a nice way to go. It does not give you the burden of the external pressures from maybe stakeholders or shareholders, which typically look like when are we going to see our returns on our investment? In addition to that, if we can solidify our non-dilutive funding, what it's going to do is show down the line, if you do decide to get investors, is to validate your project externally. So getting this non-dilutive funding is going to validate that your project has been vetted in some type of ecosystem. Now, what are these types of non-dilutive funding? Well, we can get these non-dilutive funding through small business loans, small business grants, awards, as well as revenue-based financing and venture debt financing. And I can go over these. So, small business loan is exactly what it sounds like. So if you start a company, you really don't have a credit history with the company, but you might have it on your personal side. And so you can leverage your personal credit score, credit history, and get a small business loan based on your personal history. That will give you a little bit of money, but not too much to get started. However, there is an opportunity for you to look at small business grants and awards as well. And I'll get into those a little bit later. But there are various organizations out there that are wanting to support and also seed ideas for innovators, researchers, developers, all of these exciting pathways to generate bigger returns. Another way of revenue-based financing. So this is a strategy or a technique that Continuous Solutions used, which is building a clientele, figuring out how we can offer products or solutions or consulting to our customers and clientele, and use that funding or use that revenue to then fund our R&D efforts. And then there's also very creative ways with venture debt financing, which isn't giving away any type of equity, but it's kind of like your angel investors or your early stage investors that are willing to risk some financial finances for the reward. Other types of non-dilutive funding, so federal, state, and private grants are available specifically for innovative projects. Recognition-based funding, so achievements or milestones, you can look for those in your organizations that you're a part of. It could be a national organization, a private organization. So look at where you're publishing papers, see if there's any type of funding to take advantage of, or within OHSU, there could be some type of funding available for these type of innovative projects. Really, it's about exhausting all of your resources, making sure that you don't leave any rock unturned to see where that funding can exist and lie to get your idea up and going or your business up and going. Also, participating in industry-specific competitions can bring in some cash prizes. That can look like working with maybe a pharmaceutical company if you're a biotech company, or looking at these large corporations that are typically not as agile as, let's say, a group of researchers to bring ideas to life. And so they're willing to invest in some cash prizes to get you going, to see what could come out of it. And a lot of the times these cash prizes, there's no strings attached. It's let's see what you can do with this type of funding. So specifically for Continuous Solutions, we looked at SBIR, STTR funding. This is coined as the Seed Fund of America. This is typically for research projects. It's divided into two different categories. So you have the small business innovative research, which is really done for, this is really a program for products that have a place or have a home. And then you have the small business technology transfer, which is a program to couple small businesses with institutions as national laboratories or universities. And for the small business innovative research, the opportunity is great. We have $3.2 billion minimum spending each year, which means that we have a huge opportunity to extract this non-dilutive funding. The STTR is also significant. It's $450 million minimum of spending each year. This is the 2019 budget. Typically, it goes up each year, or it increases each year. I'm going to share the website in order for you all to see what it looks like to search for such funding. So I'm going to stop my screen really quickly, and we will go over here. All right. So there are the Federal Opportunity Agency announcements, and this is a broad scope of every single federal contracting opportunity. And this looks like this. So it's sam.gov. That's the landing page for the government website. And this gives you every single contract opportunity possible. Now, that's very daunting, especially when you don't really know where to start. But what this landing page does is gives you step-by-step information on the bare minimum of what needs to be achieved if you are looking for government funding. So this will give you insight into what your entity needs to look like. There are several like numbers, identifiers that you need to register your company under, a lot of different steps that need to be taken prior to receiving any type of funding for the company. It sounds daunting, but you can apply. It is possible to apply to SBIR prior to getting all of the steps ready. So that's just admin side of things. Okay, so we go down to the bottom of the page, we can search for contract opportunities. At the very bottom of the page, we see the small business research. And this small business resources gives you all the information that you need in order to get going. Apex Accelerator is formerly known as PTAX. PTAX has regional offices. So we have one here in Oregon that will help you get started in looking for federal opportunities. And so if we click on the Apex Accelerators. All right, so this is specifically for accelerating entrepreneurship within the United States. And these departments, so procurement technical assistant program, it's under the management of the Department of Defense as in the Office of Small Business Programs. So this is more applicable to my company because we're doing power and energy, but it's not to say that there isn't some biotech related work that could be done. Like I said, exhaust all the resources that you can to take a look for funding. So we have the broad scope of every federal opportunity there is. You go to search, and you can go into keywords or exact phrases to look for any opportunities. However, if we say, actually, I know the agency that I want to work with, I just want to go directly to that agency, then let's say you're a biotech company, you can search NIH, SBIR, and National Institute of Health has its own landing page for the support of small businesses. So this is the SBIR, STTR funding opportunities. Now, with the funding opportunity announcements, you can open and view contract solicitations. So let's say you are, curious of what's being asked. Solicitations are basically asked from the government. And so this is, for an example, this is a contract type, and this is being made available on January 23rd, so yesterday. And this has a close date of February 22nd, 2024. And so this is just a broad announcement saying that they are looking for research and development that will contribute towards the Advanced Research Project for Agency of Health, ARPA-H. The mission, needs, and small business innovation project objectives. So this is a broad announcement. Sometimes it can get more specific, then it brings you back to the SAM, and then it gives you all of the information, classification. You can go into the description and see what they're asking for, and it gives you all of the subcategories. So inexpensive plant-based manufacturing of viruses, continuous monitoring of vascular health using smart biometric implants. And so each of these solicitations are a direct call to researchers or to innovators looking for a solution. And so that is a little insight into how to find this type of funding. For myself, I like to look at a very specific agency, the Naval Agency. So we do navysbir.com. This is their landing page. So each agency, it looks completely different. It will require you to be very cautious on how you are putting together your proposal, The dates are very important. There's no leeway with those dates. So you need to keep your eye on the ball if you're going to apply to any of these types of BAAs or broad agency announcements. It's very important also to read the fine print. So even like the margins around the proposals are being looked at because it's highly competitive. It's an easy way to filter out people who can't read directions, right? And so if you even have a little bit of margin of error, your proposal will not be considered. All right, so back to the presentation. Okay. Okay, so okay, one second. So my journey bootstrapping was a process of trial and error, and really, one second.
It looks good, Nyah. You're actually
Okay, perfect. All right. So yeah, so my journey in bootstrapping was a very trial and error based. I wasn't too much aware of all the resources that are available, specifically in Portland today. So there are organizations such as Virtue Labs who will get you started and sit down with you step by step in walking you through the process of looking for non-dilutive funding and specifically the SBIR STTR process. That's available and they don't have a central office, so you can just go to their website and take a look at Virtue Labs organization. Also, I believe OHSU has some resources to get you started. So Continuous Solutions started in 2014. So I like to say we're a 10-year overnight success. The process is tedious and excruciating, but you know, the fire in my heart and mind took over to start this company. I didn't know where it was going. I didn't know what it would be, but that's where my excitement came from. I like to say I was young, reckless, with nothing to lose, but usually when you hear that, what follows is never good. Luckily, I was very cautious and nerdy, so I made sure to not go too crazy. I'm a huge proponent of this non-dilutive funding. In 2014, I took a chance with an engineer and a client. I wrote my first contract not knowing what the hell I was doing and also counting on my faith in my first employee / business partner. Thank God we were able to deliver on that contract. It was an excruciating 15 months of working with quite a nightmare client. And the nightmare client probably came because of my naivety. That was how we got started. It was a consulting gig that turned into a 15-month affair. During that time, we were able to fund the SBIR STTR search and proposal writing. Now, these proposals are not for the faint of heart. They are typically 1 month in preparation. And for our first award, it actually took about 2 months of preparation. We were not paying ourselves. We were just focusing on getting those winning proposals. We had wrote 2 proposals and we were so sure that they were going to win, so sure that we said, let's patent these ideas. But that was a terrible idea. It was a very terrible idea because the process of patenting prior to winning the award was a waste of resources and time, which could have gone into getting or gaining more clients in our consulting side of the business. Everyone knows also that government takes twice as long to do anything, especially when working with these sub-agencies. So during 2015, we were getting so stressed out. Our first contract was wearing on us emotionally, mentally, financially. I cashed in my retirement funds. So this is the non-dilutive funding part, which was small. I was only 27. Also, my grandmother had gifted me stocks when I graduated with my PhD, so I cashed those in as well. And I like to say I was cashing in my patience as well. However, the SBIR program pulled through, and it continues to this day to be a great customer of Continuous Solutions. We have been able to build a vault of IP, work with top researchers in the world, continue to move with agility based on technology adaptation, all while having a built-in customer base that the SBIR allotted us. And truly, I found a wonderful group of people to work with. It's everything in life, these relationships that we build, and it truly makes my life so much better to be working with the people that I do. So basically, what I'm trying to say is, the people around you are going to get you where you want to go. It might not seem like it today, but looking to your left and to your right, you're going to find many people who are looking to do incredible things. And if you pull your resources together, you can do greater things together than individually. The other aspect of us getting non-dilutive funding was reaching out to Chase as well as Washington Trust Bank. They were able to give us an initial line of credit, I think it was like a year and a half into the business, of $50,000 in 3 days. It was really incredible because it helped us to basically bridge the gap between when we got the award and when the government started to pay us. And that gap was huge. The time span was huge because I didn't have all of my ducks in a row prior to winning the award. There's a lot of steps that the government wants to see within your company before they're going to hand over a check. And maintaining these relationships with the banks allowed for us down the road. I think it was about 6 years later, I was able to increase that line of credit from $50,000 to $250,000, which gave us a lot of leeway in our growth. It's important also to maintain good relationships with your clients, including the nightmare ones. I got that back in alignment with communication and strategy for our company. We continued to work with them actually from 2014 all the way to 2017. But by 2017, our company had grown more towards the federal contracting side. We built a rapport with our clients and our customers. Word spread to other program managers and also other agencies. So we were able to expand more in the business side into the Department of Defense. We also like to build rapport with vendors, suppliers, and our subcontractors. These are the people that we are paying, right? And so if we're able to build a relationship with them, then it can give us grace periods for the infancy of early business years when money is tight. It's important also to note that many companies came and went over these 10 years. And hearing stories from the trenches of other companies is really what helped Continuous Solutions to stay treading these waters and making sure that we don't make these similar mistakes that other companies do. And we continue to be very cautious with how we're spending and making sure that we are able to continuously find contracts and find customers. So with federal contracts under my belt, I've been able to supplement funding from state and local organizations as well that allow for the unaccountable spending outside of the government contracts. Organizations like Business Oregon, Virtue Labs, iCorp, and other accelerators have really established themselves as support groups for early entrepreneurs. And the programs and resources, as well as funding to assist people like us that have a desire to contribute to the world, is vast and should be looked at. So what are the funding goals for SBIR STTR? It's not just only to fund research and development, although we do want to fund research and development federally. It's also to increase and build bridges between private sector commercialization of these innovations derived from the federal research and development funding. So we want to build bridges between our federal needs into the private sector. And what better way to do this than through small business? We're stimulating also technological innovations. So SBIR, like I showed you in the example of looking for these fundings, they have specific projects that are very research focused. We want to also, through the SBIR program, foster and encourage participation in innovation and entrepreneurship by women and socially and economically disadvantaged individuals. In addition to that, it's also fostering technical transfer through cooperative research and development of small businesses and research institutes, and that's through the STTR program. Now, this is the fourth bullet of participation for women and socially economically disadvantaged individuals. That is not exclusive. SBIR is open to everybody, every small business there is. And the definition of small business is any company that's under 500 employees. So it's very open to a lot of individuals. Like I said, there's many agencies under the federal program. And so how do we decode the SBIR STTR and tailor it to our innovative path? First, we need to decide which agency is going to be best for our innovation, right? So looking at each of the agencies, we have DOE, DOD, NIH, NSF, USDA, and I'm sure I'm missing some more. And so, asking yourself these questions, I like to use a blank piece of paper and starting to write down, well, where can I contribute, right? Where are my passions lie? Which agencies do I want to align with? And where can I take my technology to application? Now, the other thing is, do I need to partner with a research institute to get this technology further? Or is this a market-ready technology if I just had the funding? And there's very distinct purposes between the SBIR and STTR. So thinking about that's going to be very important. Also, how do I interact with that research institute? Do I have all the necessary contracts in place? Do they have boilerplate contracts that I should be looking at early on to make sure that the technology is transferable? And then also after we get all of that admin stuff worked out, then how do we organize our idea to fit into that agency or solicitation is a craft in and of itself, right? So maybe we have an idea that could fit into maybe 3 different agencies, and now we need to take a look at the solicitations and see if anything could potentially fit that original idea. Or preliminary research that I've already started. And this could be something like, I found a precursor that could work for this type of drug delivery mechanism, but I only can find solicitations to another type of drug delivery mechanism. So instead of a pill form, they want it as an injectable, right? So can I use the SBIR STTR funding to explore that different delivery mechanism or drug delivery mechanism? Is that something that's practical? How do I craft this proposal to make sure that I'm being explicit in saying this has worked for oral dosage, but now we want to explore it with intravenous dosage, right? So we just need to stretch the bounds of what we have created, and if it's not fitting specifically in the solicitation. And the solicitations are defining only the problem. It is you as the small business or as the researcher to apply a creative solution to the problem that's being presented. Also, leveraging skills as well as low overhead projects to begin with are going to be essential. So how much can we do on the computer? Can we model this? Can we simulate it? Can we, think of experimentation that's very not cost prohibitive, because the SBIR is done in phases. So phase one is going to be a limited amount of funding to see how far you can push your progress. And typically it's between $100,000 and $150,000 to begin with. Phase two, once you show enough progress, phase two is the larger contract, which is typically between 2 to 3 years with interim reflections or reviews. 2 to 3 years between $1 and $1.5 million. And so that's when you can start to work your way into those prototypes and large scale experimentation. And then phase three is getting your project up and into either commercialization or an extended development project program with an agency or with an institution or with a commercial entity. All right, so we are in the power and energy field, continuous solutions, and so I want to show you some of our innovative technologies that were sponsored through the SBIR STTR office. So this is a gallium nitride-based inverter for automotive applications. This is all about electrification of land, air, and sea craft vehicles. So we have designed this inverter to be extremely power dense, and that's what the DoD is looking for. We're looking to decrease the power electronics so that we can have more space for battery storage, for instance, on an automotive application. We're designing an inverter up to 450 volts and up to 150 amps with a nominal power draw of 40 kilowatts. And this particular innovation is in its shape. So we have put it into a cylindrical shape, as well as the power density. So it's 350% more power dense than a traditional inverter for this application. So this is a comparison side by side. We did this this all in AutoCAD to put our idea into a model to show how we're going to build the actual inverter, and then why it's substantial is the power density of this inverter. And so in crafting these proposals, we really want to show what is the industrial application to our innovation, and why is it better, and why does it need to be funded. Also, gallium nitride is on the forefront of technology for micronization of power applications. So this is one of the first in the world to be based in this gallium nitride technology at this power level. And we are working with providers in the gallium nitride who's been funded as well, and then now on a global scale selling these switches, gallium nitride switches. So they're excited to see their switch, their gallium nitride switch in an application, and we're very happy to have our innovation being sponsored and co-collaborated with. Here's another application. So this is an electric motor, and this is for propulsion applications. So think of like underwater unmanned vehicles, also ships. This is a motor for that application. So we were able to do a lot of our design work with MATLAB, as well as SolidWorks and AutoCAD, to show what this device would look like if we were to build it. After we were able to show proof of concept computationally, then they said, all right, excellent. If you have confidence that this is going to do what you say it's going to do, then let's go ahead and build it. And so we were able to get funded to to build this device. This is a 100 kilowatt electric motor set to be scaled all the way up to a megawatt. And if we think about propulsion, we need to make sure that everything's waterproof. So this is us submerging the outer casing, making sure that everything's sealed up. This is also this is a thermal simulation to make sure that the heat from the motor inside is going to be maintained at a temperature that's not going to demagnetize the magnets inside the motor. So we were able to do that and put it all together. And so this is the our motor completely assembled and put together. We were able to put the stator and rotor together in our lab. We had some third-party contractors doing some of the metal work for us, but ultimately, in this last picture, we were the ones who put the final assembly together. And then in the background, you can see our test bed for the electric motors. So I graduated with my undergrad from Illinois Institute of Technology and then did my PhD at Purdue University. And through both of my times at IIT as well as Purdue, I really focused on cultivating my relationships, not only with my peers, but also my professors. And this allowed for me to have opportunities that I never thought possible. And at IIT, it was in the form of doing undergraduate research with a PhD as my mentor, a PhD student as my mentor, that allowed for me to understand what it is to get your PhD. From there, I was able to apply to Purdue University while still attending IIT. It was my last year of my undergrad in which I met a professor in the electrical engineering department. And we met at a cafe to talk about the program at Purdue and what it's like. That was in 2008, summer of 2007. And to this day, I'm still working with that professor. We have done a lot of proposal writing together, experiments together, brainstorming sessions. I still travel to Purdue University to test some of our products that you see in this photo. It's just a really special relationship that I hold dear to my heart. It's not only that one professor, but also another professor that I've known and worked with since 2008. And I continue to develop these relationships, these long-term relationships, because they are so enriching to see each other's progress on this pathway through life. In addition to that, this lower left-hand corner, this is a photo of me in Thailand, touring a facility that actually constructs, did R&D and developed a new type of tank. This was through Business Oregon delegation to Thailand for clean tech, and Suriname, who recently passed away. This was back in 2018. I traveled with her to Thailand and another maybe 15 people that are in the clean tech space from Oregon. And she set this tour up for me with one of her high school friends. So she was 72 at the time, and she connected me with her high school friend who has now this massive compound of manufacturing in Thailand. It was really amazing. All right, and then this is me standing in the lab that we set up. The lab looks quite different these days. This was back in 2018 when the photo was taken. But this is our test bed. We also have thermal assessments in our lab. We have a CNC machine. We can build things. All of this was built out. It's about 2,000 square foot space for PCBs, doing all the research. It's definitely a playground and a sense of pride. So some practical tips. because we're getting close to the end of the session. So practical tips. So we really want to identify suitable funding opportunities. You don't want to be wasting time going after opportunities that are too far away from your core expertise. Also, crafting compelling proposals and highlighting the innovation and impact is going to be so important, and it's an art form in and of itself. So get people to take a look at your proposal and see what they think about it. Is it a lot of the times these proposals are being reviewed by people with expertise in your area, but not specifically in what you're talking about. So you really want to make sure that you can appeal to a broad audience that has a high level of reasoning. Also, making sure that you're following exact guidelines and submitting the application on time. This is the easiest way to get written off and have wasted your energy and resources in putting together the proposal by not following the guidelines or submitting on time. So that's very, very important. Also, make sure that you don't do what we did, which is putting the cart before the horse and saying, let's go for the patents right away before we even know if we won the proposal. Also, one is not done in this case. Non-dilutive funding is wonderful. It's great. And you're going to feel a rush that you've never felt before when you win an SBIR or STTR award. But that one award is not going to get you to the finish line, just like a single contract does not make you a business. So we really need to keep and continuing to push ourselves and push our business and looking at all of those opportunities that come our way. Resources are crucial in the beginning, middle, and end. So make sure that you get creative, stretch your single dollar into $5. Be willing to think outside of the bounds of what you've imagined for your technology. And the most important is have fun and stay sane while you're doing it. So thank you so much. And I'm going to open up any questions that you might have. So let's start the discussion.
All right. Thank you so much, Nyah, for sharing a little bit about your journey and some great resources for non-dilutive funding. As we've said in the chat, go ahead and if you have questions, put them in the Q&A and we will read them. We already put one that was kind of a connecting of services in there, information for you. But the first question we had was, can you speak to balancing consulting and deep tech development? What strategies have you found successful for monetizing IP, licensing, etc.?
Yeah, so balancing consulting and deep tech development. So, right now it's not just myself and another person. We have a 5-person team. And the deep tech development kind of goes hand in hand with the consulting, right? So the more that you're doing research and development and able to convey what you're doing externally, the more consulting is going to come in. And so the way that we balance this is to make sure that each project is worth our while. So we often get consulting requests from companies that are looking to get the biggest bang for their buck, but it might not make sense to us. So we need to evaluate each of these consulting projects as it relates to our development projects that we're being funded for. And then if we determine that, yes, this is a great opportunity, we should move forward with it, it's about looking at each engineer's strengths, making sure that what they have on their plate and what they're working on allows for enough time to divert attention to the consulting opportunity. And so this is a lot of project and program management, making sure that we have all the resources. And then also, what strategies have you found successful for monetizing IP? So what strategies I found successful is definitely, patent protecting, but also utilizing trade secrets. So making sure that each of your team members have signed a document to make sure that all of the technology that's being developed is being retained within the company. Once you have that going, it's more on the legal side of things, then in order to monetize it, We have looked at licensing. We've had a couple of opportunities with licensing, but the real um, game changer is when we can control the means of production. And so what we've been strategizing is creating our manufacturing in-house to the best of our capabilities, and then selling product from there. But licensing, non-exclusivity is going to be very important so that you can continue to attempt at commercializing the actual product. And then also, if you've patented something and you think that you don't have any use for it, selling the patent outright has also been a strategy that we've used to provide more funding for the company in its development.
Great, thank you. The next one is more of kind of a mention than a question, but if you have any experience to speak to, which was that it sounds like using ChatGPT to write grant proposals is being disallowed by some agencies like the DOE, and that it can jeopardize the patentability of inventions. So I wonder if you have any experience with that or.
Yeah, I don't have any experience with any agencies disallowing it, but I have experience with ChatGPT. So I think ChatGPT is an excellent tool, just like Google. I think that there's incredible resources if it's being used properly. So a lot of the ways in which ChatGPT can be used to craft a proposal is by allowing for it to generate questions that you wouldn't typically think of when you're writing the proposal. And so I think that I haven't heard anything about it being disallowed. So I'm going to talk on ChatGPT being used as a tool rather than as a way to generate proposals for you, because these proposals that are going to be generated by ChatGPT are going to be lacking a lot of things. And that's going to be the human element of it. But also ChatGPT isn't always right. So you need to be very careful when using the program. I think that ChatGPT is powerful when you need to consolidate a bunch of information and you want to maybe extract questions out of that information. So there are a lot of ways to use it beyond just crafting beyond just telling it to write the proposal for you. And I think that that's what's being disallowed, because you get a lot of noise and a lot of garbage if you are just allowing the AI to write the proposal for you. Now, how it can jeopardize the patentability of inventions. So depending on which ChatGPT program you're using, so there's ChatGPT 3.4, 3.5, which is the free open source one. That is tracking everything that you're writing into the prompt. So basically, when you're giving away any type of information publicly that has been publicly released, that technology is no longer patentable. So if you are publishing a paper around your technology, that's going to be no longer patentable. It's not to say that you can't commercialize it. You can still commercialize it, but you will maybe get competitors who want to go into that space. ChatGPT 4, there's two different options. There's the personal one, and then there's also the enterprise one. If you choose to go the enterprise route, there is encryptions around the prompts that you're going to be safeguarding that technology or that information as you're using ChatGPT to maybe do a patent search, or maybe you're using ChatGPT to, you know, I don't know, do past state of the art for writing your patent. So there are many uses for ChatGPT, I think, that are excellent and that should be explored. Do not fear it. It's really like the equivalent of Google, right? If you know how to search Google and use it as a tool, it's amazing, especially if you're in a graduate program. If you are looking for a specific answer to your question, you're going to find it on Google. So, which I think is a lot of how we get the conspiracy theories validated. All right, next question. Are there any other questions?
I had one, which was, you know, what if you go to look, for these solicitations and you really don't see anything that matches? How do you kind of stay on top of what's coming out? How do you, make sure that you're not missing opportunities? Is it, really just checking diligently, or are there other kind of strategies to make sure you're on top of any new solicitations that might fit your project?
So there are keywords that you can, so I would start maybe making a list of keywords that apply to you in your area of expertise. Those keywords will be crucial in looking for opportunities on STEM.gov. In addition to that, I think NSF is fantastic for applying to just the open solicitations. That means that it's non-specific. So any project that you have that you think could be impactful to the scientific community can be sponsored by the NSF. Now, it makes for NSF awards to be much more competitive. So just understand that going in, you need to have a very competitive, very appealing project if it's not solicitation specific.
Great.
And then also just to mention, each of the solicitations, if you're unsure of what they're asking, or maybe the bounds of what they're asking, there is a period of Q&A that you can actually write to the author of the solicitation to guide them into the mental framework of how your solution could be applied to what they're asking for, and to also gain clarity.
That's great. That actually kind of leads into a question that my co-host Claudia had sent, which was, if you have questions, are there ways to connect with individual program managers to ask questions about the solicitation or to strengthen your submission?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can actually set up meetings with the writers of the solicitation. You can call them, cold call them, you can email them, you can submit a Q&A, and that Q&A is public. So if you don't want to submit a Q&A, you can click on the Q&A and see what other people have submitted in terms of what their questions are for the solicitation. It also gives you an idea of the competition. So if you have 80 Q&As under a solicitation, then you can glean from that, my God, there's a lot of people who are really interested in this topic, which means that there's going to be a lot of competition, a lot of submissions. So maybe I hedge my bets on a different solicitation, or I believe in myself so much that we're going to win it.
Great, thank you. Well, that concludes our hour. So thank you again, Nyah, for the great talk and advice, and again, sharing your story. And thank you everyone for coming to this first of the Innovate seminar series. We hope you will join us for future seminars that are coming up next quarter. Thank you all.
Thank you very much.